Mr. Nicolas Rouillère from the Environmental Agency, representing the Prefect of Réunion. Mrs. Noël Cadet from the Regional Council, representing the President of the Regional Council of Réunion. Professor Dominique Strasberg, co-organizer of the conference. Professor José María Fernández Palacios, member of the SIB, founding member of the SIB, the Society for Island Biology. Professor Gilles Lajoie, administrative president of the University of Réunion, and Professor Frédéric Mironville, president of the University of Réunion. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I would like I would like to wish you all a warm welcome for attending to this third edition of the Island Biology Conference. It's a great pleasure to host you in Réunion. I know some of you have traveled far to reach here, and I hope that you will have a fruitful scientific stay and an exciting time exchanging ideas and listening to exciting new research on island biology. Before giving more information about the program, the scientific program of the conference, I would like to call Professor Mironville to officially open this conference. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This moment is a very particular moment in history because this is the first time I will do my speech in English. So I would like you to be very kind with me. And I will do, of course, my best to make you understand what I mean. Mr. the representative of le Préfet de la Réunion, Madame the representative of the President of the Regional Council, Mr. the President of the Society for Island Biology, Mr. the Vice Director of the National Park of Réunion, Mr. the President of the Academic Council, Mr. Strasberg and Madame Hapeng, scientific coordinators of this event for the University of Réunion, dear colleagues from so many countries, dear partners, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very great pleasure for me to welcome you here at the University of Réunion Island for this very particular event that we are proud of. On behalf of my colleagues and partners, I would like to thank the Society of Island Biology very much to have permitted the organization of the International Conference Island Biology 2019 in our beautiful territory. I also thank the organization committee and our partners for all the efforts that have been made, including financial support to make the project of hosting IB 2019 conference a reality. Thanks also to all of you here today for your participation to this opening session and to this conference. We are very proud and pleased to welcome you. Réunion Island is part of the French overseas territories, and we are used to say here in Réunion that it is the most beautiful island in the world. It's also a place where hospitality and kindness are very part of the heart of living. The University of Réunion is a quite young university, 36 years old this year, and is one of the 5 French overseas universities. Located in the Indian Ocean, it is the only European university in the region. More than 16,000 students are registered every year in our university, which also comprises more than 1,200 employees. Since 2016, Mr. President of the Academic Council and I have worked together to develop a strategy for the University of Réunion, which is closely linked to its territory and also aimed to a very recognizable scientific diffusion. It is thus important for me to let the President of the Academic Council say a few words to you about our research organization. Dear Gilles.
As Frédéric mentioned, the University of Réunion is young and growing. Through its high-quality research, international influence, large range of courses, and student living conditions, the University of Réunion has many advantages and play a key role as an interface between Europe and the Indian Ocean. The University of Réunion is composed of 5 faculties, 5 institutes, 1 engineering school, 1 teacher training school, and 1 observatory for the science of universe. The fields of training courses cover a large range between languages, humanities and social sciences, sciences, technology and health and law, economics and business. Research activities are assumed by 21 research units, which are grouped into 3 federations of research. The first federation focuses on the field of social sciences and the humanities. The second one concentrates on the observation, dynamics, and development of natural environments. And the third one is devoted to the study and enhancement of biodiversity in the southwest Indian Ocean in terms of human, animal, and plant health. All these research activities are carried out in partnerships with leading French institutions, in particular through joint research units. For instance, the Institute of Research for Development, the French National Meteorological Service, the French National Center for Scientific Research, the Center for International Cooperation in Agriculture Research for Development, the National Institute of Health and Medical Research, and the Institute of Earth Physics of Paris. With our partners, the University of Réunion offers state-of-the-art research platforms with a plant protection division, a cyclotron, a satellite-assisted environmental monitoring station, and an atmospheric observation station. Reaching out to all countries of the region, our university maintains teaching and research partnerships with Madagascar, Comoros, Seychelles, Mauritius, Australia, South Africa, and soon Ethiopia and Kenya. It maintains at the same time strong ties with Europe, mostly through Erasmus exchanges with China and other parts of the world. And last but not least, the human dimension of the campuses encourage exchanges between students and teachers. Support and guidance schemes have been established for foster student achievements. One achievement that we are proud of here in Réunion is to be listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That's another story Frédéric will tell you.
Thank you. Currently, there are 44 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in France, 39 cultural, 4 natural, and 1 mixed. And we should soon add another one to this list. Since 2010, the Piton, Circus, and Rampants of Réunion sites constitutes the core zone of the Réunion National Park. The property covers more than 40% of the island. It is the natural habitat for a wide range of biodiversity, thus creating a remarkable and visually appealing mosaic of ecosystems and landscape features. I hope you will take time to visit the most beautiful places of our island and that you will be able to discover the amazing heart of Réunion Island. This conference provides us a wonderful opportunity to interact with researchers from all over the world and have presentation of the most recent research productivity about island sustainable future. That's why today I want to encourage all of you to fully participate to this international conference, to try and discover very new ideas dealing with biodiversity and island preservation. Together, we must always have in mind that our common future is what we want it to be, and that we must share one goal: make our planet great again. There is a Swahili proverb that says, unity is strength, division is weakness. This is true within a country, and it's true between countries. As researchers, these words reflect a part of our DNA. Let us take this opportunity to improve our common vision and purpose to promote shared knowledge and ambition for a better future. As the president of the University of Réunion, I wish you a very fruitful conference and ensure you, on behalf of the committee organization, that everything will be done to make your stay with us as great as possible. Thank you for your attention.
I would like to call José María Fernández Palacios.
Bonjour, bienvenue. Thank you to everybody here. As representative of the Society of Island Biology, I would like, first of all, to say that it is a sort of miracle to have all of you here in the middle of the Indian Ocean. More than 400 people, it's something really incredible. I would like to be very grateful to the political authorities, to the academic authorities, making that possible, and especially to the organizer committee of this reunion meeting that has been really working very hard to reach this day with all of you around. Some 7 years ago, a couple of colleagues and friends decided that there was a need of island biologists worldwide to have our own forum. We used to meet in fora of different organizations, but there was always the sensation that something was missing. So we decided to organize a very first meeting in Honolulu, Oahu, Hawaiian archipelago, in 2014. And 400 people came around the world. This was a very, very huge surprise. And then we learned that there is a very big force, a strength in this society. 2 years later, we moved to Angra do Heroísmo, in Terceira, Azores, Portugal, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And again, 400 people came. Not the same, but again 400 people. Academics, managers. And there we decided that the Indian Ocean was still pending, and now we are here again. So 3 years later, now 2019, we have made the miracle to meet again so far away. So people coming from so different countries. Claudine will give them a list of how many, not just institutions, but countries are represented here. And our willingness is to continue in next years, visiting other places of the world that also have a lot of islands, a lot of island researchers, island biology researchers that deserve to be visited, such as Mediterranean, Caribbean, Arctic, who knows? And again, to begin again with Pacific, Indian, Atlantic, and so on. So my words are that representing the Society of Island Biology, that we are really very grateful to all the effort done by a lot of people, and especially to all of you, because we do know that you came from very far away, that you have spent a lot of time and a lot of money just for being here, and you are really the force of our society. So thanks a lot for being here, and very welcome. Okay, we create a medal for the Society of Island Biology winning conference proposal. And with certain delay, 3 years, we are going to give that medal to a representative of La Reunión Organization Committee. So. Thank you so much, Claudine.
So I will give you now some information about the conference. Island Biology 2019 has brought together 374 attendees from 47 countries and more than 200 institutions. The conference program includes 362 abstracts divided into 15 symposia, 19 regular sessions, 4 poster sessions, and 5 workshops. There's a great diversity of themes under the broad categories of ecology, conservation, and evolution on islands, with some local specificities. For this conference, such as the participation of chemists, geoscientists, atmospheric physicians. We are also welcoming, for this 3rd edition of a conference, symposia, regular sessions, and workshops on marine biology. During the first 2 days of a conference, we have the opportunity to host a conference village here on the campus, where more than 25 biodiversity managers, NGOs, institutes will be displaying their activities for protecting and increasing knowledge on biodiversity of the Southwest Indian Ocean region. Many activities are proposed on the village: mini conferences, poster exhibitions, book selling, book signing, photo booth. So you're welcome to visit the village during these 2 days. The village was supported by the European Interreg Fund for cooperation, which allowed us to support the attendance of students, colleagues, and NGOs from the Southwest Indian Ocean region for the conference. Then, to give you the opportunity to discover this unique UNESCO World Heritage site, you're invited to join one of the 9 mid-conference field trips taking place on Wednesday, which will visit some of our natural, beautiful areas, but also highly threatened. So if you have not registered yet, please do so at the conference secretariat. And also feel free to approach any of our staff members wearing a green t-shirt if you have any questions during the week. Many social events are planned to allow mixing and networking, starting at lunchtime today with the opening cocktail of the conference village near the Amphibioclim, and in the evening with a welcoming cocktail at the Regional Council of Réunion. You can also look forward to the conference dinner on Thursday evening at the Villa du Département in downtown Saint-Denis. Please see the conference guide for more details. Among the conference green initiatives was the idea to reduce plastic by promoting the use of water fountains and reusable bottles. We use also cardboard name tags, which are not waterproof, so try to keep them dry during the week, to propose vegetarian meals, and to reduce the use of paper by providing the main conference materials in electronic format. Also, your conference t-shirts are made of fair trade organic cotton and is printed locally with natural inks. Lastly, we were conscious of the impact of conferencing on carbon emissions and the cost of flying to a remote island. One of the measures we've taken with the support of our University Information Technology Department is to provide live streaming of the main conference room here. So please inform your colleagues abroad who couldn't attend the conference to connect to the free YouTube channel for our university to follow talks from the main venue during the week. Again, it's a great pleasure to welcome you in Réunion. On behalf of the organizing committee and the Society for Island Biology, we wish you an enjoyable stay and a productive scientific week. Thank you very much. We will welcome now Mrs. Noël Cadet.
Mr. President of the University of Réunion, Mr. Representative of the French State, Mr. President of the Society for Island Biology, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. Before to begin my speaking, I would like to apologize for my accent in English, so I will do my best, but welcome in Réunion Island. I'm particularly pleased to be here this morning to mark the opening day of the Island Biology 3rd International Conference with my delegation of Circular Economy and Research. And it is with a great pleasure that I represent Mr. Didier Robert, President of the Council of the Region Réunion. This conference is of a great significance on our island. It gives us today the immense opportunity to bring together the scientific community which carries out their research and the thematic of the island, and particularly on the question of ecology, of evolution, and conservation of terrestrial, of marine systems. It is also an important milestone in the Réunion biodiversity strategy. In fact, this event will contribute to the scientific outreach of the island to the different universities of the world, and more generally to the scientific world in the terms of Iceland biodiversity and conservation. Therefore, if you allow me, I would like to express my deepest thank you to Frédéric Miranville, President of the University of Réunion, for organizing this conference. And to say that we are very happy to have financially support this major project. To also acknowledge the quality and the plurality of biodiversity specialists who will bring a complementary experience to scientists, students from the University of Réunion, and conservation stakeholders on the island and in the Indian Ocean area. All this undoubtedly contributes to this rise of skill of conservation stakeholders, ecological restoration, as well as the training of our students, particularly in the ecology of the island system for the southwestern part of the Indian Ocean. It will also be an opportunity for the university to develop its network and expand its partnership. Networking skills will thus enable the sharing of expertise to respond to the scale of the future European Outre-mer calls from the European Commission. In addition, the conference village will raise the public's awareness of the importance of our natural heritage and encourage it to be better appreciate its value, but also the vulnerability and the therefore needs for its preservation and safeguarding. Regarding the Council Region Réunion, it's of the biodiversity. We are very involved and support the realization of the project consists with the strategy of Biodiversity Réunion. Therefore, this conference includes a side event dedicated to the cetaceans in the connection with the regional project, the whale train, carried by the Council Region Réunion, bringing together experts for the Indian Ocean area. The preservation of iconic marine mammals and the particular humpback whales remain a major concern throughout the Indian Ocean. The preservation of the natural heritage region of major challenge for our region. The president of the region Réunion, Mr. Didier Robert, has since 2010 strongly committed to issue of a sustainable development and wish it to set up on the territory of a Réunion an agency regional biodiversity. A tool at the service of the environmental policies and the local actors to face in a more dynamic and efficient way this issue of both preservation of a natural heritage and economic and social development of Réunion. In addition, the island territories of the Indian Ocean zone face common issues, land use planning in the face of the climate change and the current trends, adaptation to the natural hazards, preservation of a tropical biodiversity, health risk. So many shared issues that can federate this Indian Ocean in the search for the model of sustainable development and profitable to all. The regional community supports the research project. They are part of this process of projecting our territory into the geographical environment. In the field of higher education and research, the Région Réunion has in its regional plan for higher education and training and research of the Union, called CEFOR, sought to support the development of a tropical and island university anchored in the Indian Ocean. Our goal, to provide and build with all our partners innovating solutions in terms of ecological and energy transition in a world facing major climatic and democratic challenges. That is why, since 2010, we have been supporting with a great interest work in the framework of the two calls of a research project, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. Region research allocation and the ERDF measure relating to postdoctorants. On the other hand, we support research and innovation projects on the territory via a call of express of interest, AMI, procedure in line with the objective of the ERDF operational program for the period of 2014 and 2020. As the President Didier Robert reminds us, being an actor and responsible is the meaning of the action taken through support for sustainable tourism, renewable energies, the protection and enhancement of the biodiversity. Success for a green revolution will be the result of our collective responsibility, our commitment to our Earth. Today, we are an important turning point for the future of the biodiversity of our island territories, which call for and requires the construction of a solid policy in favor of it. And it is thanks to shared dialogue and sharing that we will success together in giving every citizen a model of development while preserving our natural heritage. On behalf of the region, I hope that this conference will prove beneficial and constructive for what we have to achieve, requiring from us a global approach, a multidisciplinary approach that is a scientific, social, and a cultural. It is important for everyone to contribute to this process, both through reflection and ideas. I thank you for your attention, and I wish you a fruitful work and exchanges.
Nicolas Rouillère.
Hello, everybody. In the name of Mr. Bilan, Préfet de la Réunion, who is a local representative of France here on this island, I'm very happy to welcome you here. The French state definitely supports this scientific event. President Macron has hosted IPBS this year, and scientists are very clear. We are experiencing a massive loss of biodiversity, maybe 1,000 times higher than natural rates. This is the 5th extinction. The figures are now well known. In 40 years, we have lost 50% of vertebrates. In Europe, we have lost 80% of aerial insects, 30% of birds. There is a possibility of avoiding dire consequences if we take action now. Faced with this challenge, overseas play a very important role with 80% of Europe's biodiversity. La Réunion, in particular, has an important responsibility as it is part of a hotspot. You have here a strong endemic biodiversity. We have less than 3,000 plants present here, but 900 native and 500 endemic, with a strict endemism of 28%, which is very high. This means that the majority of national action plans for endangered species in France have to be set up here in La Réunion. This biodiversity is in danger for several reasons here in Réunion Island. Actually, there are 3 main reasons. The first one is invasive alien species, such as cat, rat, guava. Second reason is the alteration of natural habitats, because the population is increasing. The third one is poaching on plants. Fortunately, we have many local partners here in La Réunion to tackle the challenge. National park, municipalities, national reserves, environment police, NGOs, university, and many other partners. Once we say that, there are 4 things to share with you. The first one is that the priority for us, for the state of France is to shift the society, the civil society, towards comprehension and action. This is particularly true here in Réunion Island. The second point I would like to share with you is that the whole challenge is the consistency of everyone's action. Third point is that the regional authority is now leading the regional policy on biodiversity. The French state supports that. And last point, a priority, which is a consensus among all these partners, is the fight against invasive alien species, which should be a great unifying cause. In the end, the project of a new biodiversity regional agency will be the catalyst for all of this. For its part, the French government has launched a national plan to save biodiversity that we are in the process of setting up here in Réunion Island. It will identify a large number of actions that directly or indirectly enhance the preservation of biodiversity. And it will make a source of employment here in Réunion Island. This is why the state, the French state, supports island biology and supports your work. We need scientists to enlighten our way, even if it promises to be full of challenges. But this lighting will not be enough. Action must be now taken by the whole population. The French state will support that. I thank you very much for your work.
I invite people who are arriving. Please come in. Before the official leave, we're going to make a picture of everyone here and with the officials, please. And then we will start with the plenary. And I will call Vincent Florence to chair the plenary.
So just after the picture, our official will go to open the scientific village outside, but we will go on starting with talks. Vincent, you are the chair of the next session. Sauf qu'ils m'ont mis... c'est toi qui causes. Ça, c'est ton
Ouais, je
guide.
prends 1 minute.
Ouais. J'ai fait quelques diapos.
Je reste,
c'est
je
pas
reste
encore.
où, hein, je vais là dans l'assistance après. Sinon je vais rien voir.
Ah oui, tu vas rien voir. Hein.
Bon, bah.
faire un essai de fait, voir si ça marche.
Ouais. Super. Tu viens.
Ouais, je me mets là.
Ouais. Tu fais en réserve.
Et puis je fais, quand il reste 10 minutes, 40 minutes, tu me dis. Hein, je fais
Oui.
ça.
J'amène mon petit cahier. Par contre, tu peux pas baisser un peu les lumières.
Ouais, peut-être, ouais. Je vais leur demander de faire ça justement.
Je vais à côté de toi.
Ouais, ok.
J'ai jamais fait ça. Hein.
Jamais, non, je sais pas non plus. Ce que je vais dire. Ok, on va y aller. Hello, good morning everybody. As we are in Réunion, I'm going to try my best French accent to introduce Dominique. No, I'm sorry. No, I think I didn't prepare anything to introduce Dominique because I think everybody of us know Dominique very much. He's a monument in this region of the world. Many of us here, including myself, we are alumni of Dominique. We are, like Claudine and many others I'm seeing in the crowd here today, are students of Dominique, or ex-students. And actually, that's the best thing that a researcher can do, actually, is to pass the baton to many others, so we outlive him and his work. But he's one thing I would like to say as well, what I was really impressed is, in spite of all his work, he's not got a single white hair. So he does it with great ease. So anyway, we will have 40 minutes about of presentation, and then we have 20 minutes of question, more or less, so that we are on time for the coffee break and the rest. So without much ado, let's get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. So good morning again, everybody. So I was supposed to give my talk with my study buddy, Christophe, but unfortunately he just cancelled. So it was a duo, perhaps a duo of new singers. But so I'm very pleased to present you the place where you just landed. And I will start my talk with kind of a reminder of the well-known, very well-known features of the Mascarenes. And so Darwin visited the Mascarenes, so I was so glad to be back and to read again the diary of Charles Darwin, because he stopped in 1836, 1 week on Mauritius. But unfortunately, I was so disappointed because when I read the writing of Darwin, he only described transformed landscape. It was very romantic description. He fall in love with sugar canes. Really, it's amazing. Bon, so he was very young at this time, and after 4 years on the Beagle boat, I understand why he has no more energy to describe the Mascarene biota. So you will be disappointed like me. He left no documentation about the Mascarene biota. He missed the Mascarenes. So the Mascarenes, it's not only these 3 main islands, Réunion, Mauritius, and Rodrigue, but the 2 other atolls, part of Mauritius, Galega and Saint-Brandon. So the red dots are the Mascarene on the screen. So since Darwin, the Mascarene, have been many times cited because they are a very good example of ecological disaster, of what we must avoid on islands. And so this map is very famous. I've seen it in many meetings. And I will try, in the second part of my talk, to give you totally different image of the Mascarene, a very optimistic one. But before, oops. Yes. Second reason of the why Mascarene are well known is because of this guy, the dodo. Of course, Mascarene is the home of the dodo, and dodo became more a symbol, an icon. There are several hundreds of books and drawings about the dodo. And what's very ironic is that we know nothing about the dodo ecology, life traits, and the place of the dodo in the ecological theater of the Mascarene is totally unknown. Perhaps some indication on this nice drawing by Julian Hume could be something to investigate what was the ecology of this famous bird. But still, it's a very sad image of extinction from the Mascarene. The third point about the Mascarene, which is very, very well documented, is the geology. You all know that we are on a very active volcano. The Piton de la Fournaise is famous and generated hundreds and hundreds of publications because we are supposed to live above a hotspot here, which is the sister hotspot of Hawaii. And so the hotspot is also generated 65 million years ago. So it built up a large part of India, the subcontinent of India. So the famous Deccan traps are also part of the Mascarene history. So they are connected because of this geology history. There is even a famous polemic about the Deccan traps because at a time it was suggested that the extinction, the fifth extinction, was caused mainly by volcanism and the buildup of the Deccan traps. So now we know it's partly wrong. So it was the Alvarez-Cortillo polemic. I agree that we have records of extinction. There are many, many good documentation. What is amazing that in the book of Cheek and Hume, you can recover many writings from people discovering the Mascarenes only in the 17th century. So these islands were not occupied by our species before the 17th century. So it's very well described, and extinction are well described, and we have many subfossils. So we could stop there, but what I would like to do today is to show you many other facets of the Mascarenes and to provide evidence of the exceptional biodiversity we have here. I will start with describing the habitat diversity and discussing some similarities with Hawaii. Then I will stress the species diversity and endemism and highlighting the role of immigration and speciation, classical processes. And then perhaps questioning extinction processes. They are not so well documented, but we have recent data will show you about changes, physical or geographical changes that could have impact this important process is the classical island biogeography model. So the good news that the Mascarene still harbor 20% of its original cover, which is a lot, knowing that the population density here is on average 600 people per kilometer square. So even in Rodrigue, in the lagoon, you can have islets with nice bird colonies. On Mauritius, on different rims, it's very dense with endemic species. And on Réunion and Mauritius, you will probably meet on Wednesday some trees, very old trees, that established before any human set up on this place, which is a character of this archipelago. The classical geomorphology, we have this kind of chronological series of 3 islands. I put some very raw data about the area. 2 large islands, Réunion and Mauritius, the smaller Rodrigue. They are quite isolated, but 700 kilometers from Madagascar, which is a lot for many organisms. They are young for geologists. And so this chronological series also make them a good analog to Hawaii. The elevation also is the highest summit is Piton des Neiges, 3,070 meters high. It's the highest mountain in all the southwest Indian Ocean. And what's interesting, the other, on Piton la Fournaise, the active volcano, which is there, there are also good geologist evidence that we had a third volcano 4 million years ago, which disappeared, and 2 million years ago. So this shape, this pattern of geology also is not updated in most of our biology books. So because of this elevation gradients, we have an amazing zonation pattern, the traditional Massener-Hebung effect. And you will recover sophora forest, acacia forest, like in Hawaii, and cloud forest or very wet rainforest. And on this picture, I think you are unable to say if this picture was taken in Hawaii or in Réunion. And so beyond this classical zonation, the topography is so rugged that we listed more than 100 different vegetation types, which is a lot, and you could list many other that I have no time to present, like some mangroves, some lava tubes. There are many azonal habitats, which also which brings a high habitat diversity for the place. So the rainfall could explain this topography. We have places with 12 meters a year, with some records of 18 meters of rainfall a year. We have records of erosion rates. And I hope you will discover this landscape very soon. Because of the volcano, you have also landscape covered with lava flow, recent lava flows with peony communities. So very similar to other communities in Galapagos or Hawaii, like the Bleknase or peony trees, and nice chronosequences. So this question is a part of the program this week. So the Mascarenes are often cited as an analog to Hawaii. And I will bring some contrast, also evidence of major differences with Hawaii. The first one is, I think we biologists, we have to be back to geology. If we discuss with geologists, recently they organized a seismological big survey, and the traditional hotspot scheme is not wrong, but has to be revisited, fully revisited. So probably that below Réunion we have no hotspot like in Hawaii, but just a small derivation of the hotspot. Probably that the activity is between Madagascar and Réunion, and the buildup of the three islands is something different for each island. So the age of the island is probably, these islands are probably much older. So the second part of my talk is my optimism part, is to convince you that the Mascarenes are not devastated, they are so rich. And endemic density is 10 times than in Madagascar, 4 or 5 times than in Hawaii, and this is not really explained in our textbook. So species diversity and endemism, this table needs also to be updated, but if you take flowering plants, land birds, or non-marine mollusks, the specialty of Vincent, you have endemism rates of so huge. And there are many groups and some taxa that need to be studied that are not on the picture. And I hope this week your contribution will help in having a nice updated table like this one. So all these lineages, we expect they come from the closest area, Madagascar and Africa. And so there are, of course, spiders, orchids, bryophytes, most of the lineages seem to have come from this place. But we have a long list of taxa with relative in India, Southeast Asia, or Australia, sometime in the Pacific. So I just recalculate among, if I take only the land plants, 2,000 native land plants, 60% of this diversity is explained by simple immigration, independent colonization events with very few differentiation. And we probably overlook long-distance dispersal, especially the many plants produce that kind of drift seeds you can collect on beaches of many islands. And so oceanic currents are probably also a major promoter of colonizing the colonization of the Mascarenes. But recently, with colleagues from Stellenbosch, we analyzed the population genetics of the acacia, endemic acacia from Hawaii, and found that the endemic acacia from Réunion, in fact, is just a subpopulation of the one of Hawaii. So meaning that this tree, what was supposed to colonize the Mascarene with drift seed from Australia, in fact, came directly from Hawaii to Réunion. So it's probably more, I think, an active dispersal, and I don't see other way of seabirds to be able to carry such lineages from the far Hawaii to the Mascarenes. And there are many, many studies at the moment in this lab, in the marine lab of my colleagues, and the Life Plus project, where they are tracking petrels, like the black-pate petrel. And most of these birds, they winter very far from Réunion. They are able to reach the Bengal Gulf, and perhaps in the later years we will discover other way connectivity with the Pacific. Another interesting pattern we recently showed with colleague, with Ben Warren, is the isolation fluctuation. In fact, varied a lot with sea level fluctuations. So even during the Pleistocene, we had several phases with a sea level at less than 100 meters than now. And so producing many stepping stones, many large, sometimes very large islands between India, between the South Asia and the Mascarene. And this stepping stone probably explain the dominance of Asiatic lineages in the community assembly in the archipelago. If I focus on the endemism, so the endemism pattern is mostly known for flowering plants. So we have 46% of our endemic species, the flowering plants. In fact, the distribution of this endemic species is very uneven. They are concentrated in 10% of the lineages. So for conservation, also it's an important message that among the 300 lineages that probably colonize the Mascarene to build up the ecosystem you will see, 10% of the lineages concentrates 46% of endemic species. So I put some recent studies. So the phylogeny studies are quite recent in the area, but so there are many groups also to investigate, but the first famous group like the Dombeya, the Malvaceae family, some orchids in the subsection of Angrecum, beetles we studied with Brent Emerson. They show amazing number of endemics and probable several events of radiation. Probably the most famous is the daisy tree group. This group is more than 26 endemic species for the Mascarene. But the colonization theory is roughly known with a first colonization of Réunion, which is the youngest island. So it's really a non-intuitive pattern. And the second clade colonized Mauritius. So we have, in fact, two independent colonization first, rapid radiation, rapid speciation, and an important role for Rodrigue in the colonization of this clade. So it's not, I think the story is not finished, but because on the field, our colleagues, there are many naturalists now in the Mascarene, they discover a new population with very new morphologies. So a lot to explain, even for this very well-known group. So this third part is more dedicated to geography of physical settings. If you look at recent work from colleagues from Amsterdam, they spent a lot of time to do archaeology, paleontology on Mauritius. And they, for example, they showed that all the lowland ecosystem went through a major drought, and we had a kind of mass extinction in Marosonge. So 4,200 years ago, the shape of our communities here was totally different, at least in the lowland. You could think that Réunion escaped that because it's so high and so wet, but it's wrong. In the uplands, because of this drought, we had fire during probably many years. And we found a big layer of phytoliths from bamboo, meaning that we had a bamboo forest in the uplands, destroying probably half of the western part of the island. So this was also inferred by the nice genetic study of this famous bird, the Coracina newtoni, showing that this bird went through a bottleneck exactly at the time of this drought and probably fire event. Major disturbance also could come from the activity. The nice Hawaiian model of volcanism is not always calm or quiet here. And we had, in the last phase of Piton des Neiges, we had very explosive events, even in the recent times. So 200,000 years ago, 80,000, several repeated events. We had a blast destroying probably half of the life on Réunion, like the Pompeii and so this, I don't know the English name, Nuée Ardente, recovered many places on Réunion, and there are good maps from geologists with a thick layer of pumices or that kind of stuff, which burn most of the diversity. And another evidence came from the people studying the birds, especially the paleontologists specialized in birds. They studied the morphology, the skeleton of Réunion birds, and they found that they are very close to the one you can find on Mauritius, with very subtle changes in the morphology. So they hypothesized that the colonization of the avifauna of Réunion is a recent one from Mauritius, because the early lineage of birds probably went extinct because of this major blast at the island scale. So these changes are really interesting for us to understand the evolutive history of our biota and also to predict the future. They produced a huge spatial heterogeneity, which is rarely accounted in our study. For example, this bird studied by Christophe is clearly structured in 4 different, 5 now, different subspecies. So because of the landscape heterogeneity of Réunion, probably. These changes, they also highlight the importance of paleological studies. So we can't conclude anything about the present biota without ecological study in this archipelago. And the last point I found really relevant is to discuss with you questions about extinction processes. Usually we are very happy to list our endemic species, and we just stop there saying these lineages are so important, so rich in endemic, but probably they were richer because some of these endemic species went extinct, meaning also that probably we missed some early lineages already extinct. So we need a larger scale approach studying the speciation processes at Indian Ocean scale or perhaps wider. So Vincent, is it okay for the time? Okay. So my last part is to question with you the future of the Mascarenes. So I tried to show you that Mascarenes are so rich. They are not devastated, but I'm not like the Candide in Voltaire. I'm not very naive. I know that the future is very dark, and But I will keep to give you good news about the future of the Mascarene. So we have a big challenge like everywhere, in any place, about human activities. Population density is so high here. And of course, we are in small, remote territories. So it's a challenge of Island Biology Society to tackle this problem. The picture in the back is Black River Gorge National Park on Mauritius. And if you manage to have 3-4 slides of this place a few decades ago, you will be depressed to see that it's now all covered by alien plants, and we have no means to stop this major invasion. But what's important, Mascarene are also very well known for success in conservation. So this is important. We never communicate about success. So we had historical success with iconic people like Carl and Richard, which is here, who in the 70s, they never waited for a subsidy or for people helping. They just go to the field and saved species, and even species that were thought extinct. 3-4 individuals of this endemic bird, kind of living extinct. Now it's a common bird on Mauritius. Same for parakeets and pink pigeon, etc. And same for Rodrigue, where no more habitats were left. And thanks to Richard's dynamism and, of course, all the team around, they managed to rebuild ecosystem. And we see now insects, some birds, recovering the forest of Rodrigue, and a place where it was supposed to have no more habitats. So projects, so people are not complaining, or because many projects, as my colleague Nicolas cited, we are fighting against invasive every day. We even develop biocontrol at large scale with a success on Rubus. Colleagues are working on restoration. This is Round Island in the past. I have no picture from now, but it's totally green. So the greening of Round Island is also amazing success. And massive plantation of native trees is not monitored, because when you have money for conservation, you have no more money for monitoring your success. So we should also have emphasized that kind of result. There are many, many tools, perhaps too many tools, but protection tools. We have a national park, UNESCO World Heritage, a reserve for the reef, a reserve l'étang Saint-Paul for a wetland, many organisms working for conserving habitats, and many plans for each endangered species. So the main problem that if we keep this rhythm, this one, it will take thousands of years to have results if we have a plan for each species by species. So this process is endless. We protect habitats, and after 10 years, we just complain that, it's invaded. So we will protect less and less and less. So I think this traditional way of conservation is good for now, but for the future, I think we have to renew this approach. And of course, the threats are increasing, and they are combining, so it's kind of lethal cocktail. It's very known for that. So you have synergy between threats, and so the invading species are more and more impacting our biota. So I just put some ideas. My idea is perhaps we should, instead of looking only at patterns and maps of habitats and list of species, looking at processes. And if we do not understand the processes that promote diversity on the islands, we have rapid speciation, and we could predict the future speciation. And it was done in papers by Sylvain and Ben for these funny crickets living on screw pines, endemic. So it's a radiation in the Mascarenes, but there are many other ecomorphs which are not on the picture. So speciation is going on. You have amazing microgeographic speciation patterns with the famous Tosterops, and five subspecies on small island like Réunion is amazing. So not understanding these processes or not promoting this processing for me is really a failure in any conservation program. Of course, ecological processes, we have to sustain people working on that, working on pollination, seed dispersal, and many other mutualism between fungi and, I don't know, And the second point is to understand the importance of this ecological processes, biotic interaction in the past communities. So I would say it's not easy, but it's more important to save an interaction. You will keep hundreds of fauna and animals behind instead of saving species one by one. So people are working hard, and we must sustain there are innovative stuff in conservation here. The famous rewilding program with Aldabra tortoises, and implying the population, like Nicolas said, people are very fond of helping in conservation. So we must sustain citizen initiative and, of course, increasing education and training. So to conclude, I trust you to fill in all the gaps and all the issues I omitted. I omitted many issues, many groups, but you are the specialist of these groups. And I trust the Island Biology Society to develop science, good science, and working in a network and produce new approaches very helpful for conservation. Thank you for your attention. So you have time for a few questions. Vincent? You push the button on.
Works. There you go. Dominique, can you say a word about the rewilding efforts in Réunion?
So there is a current project called Life Plus, including a kind of small experiments. So we're just beginning using the Aldabran tortoises and some translocation also experiments. But there is a dedicated workshop to that here, and because of James Juvic and all the colleagues from the Southwest Indian Ocean, they organized a workshop to push the Réunionnese into the good direction. So it's a part of this conference.
Hello, I'm here. Hello, thank you. Thank you, Dominique, for your really nice introductory talk. I wanted to ask you, because you omitted freshwater biodiversity, is there anything known about freshwaters?
Right. Freshwaters are very well known here. For many years, we had an institute monitoring all the fauna, and unfortunately, the structure disappeared. So now the well-trained people are dispersed in different agencies, but there are some nice work, and we had some PhD. So it's true that there is no lab really dedicated to that. But at the time of the marine biology lab, had a colleague. I think he will attend the conference. He showed also that we have connectivity between Indonesia and our rivers for the amphidromic fishes. The larvae, they are able to be produced in Indonesia, and with sea currents, they become adults in Réunion rivers. So really
wow. But do you know, is there any general trend of declining the freshwater biodiversity?
Yes, but the trend is, it's crowded with alien species, and so when NGO here is really motivated to develop environmental barcode techniques to monitor all these aliens coming. And the problem also, there are no staff really dedicated to that, and we have fishermen are well organized, and they're still keeping on putting exotic fishes in our river. You know the stories like everywhere.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just like to suggest when you ask a question, present yourself very briefly so we know who you are. So we have plenty of time for questions. Anyway. The coffee is not ready yet, so you can't leave this room.
And Claudine, is Claudine back? I don't know. So Vincent, you can also ask for questions because you are part of the.
Yes, sure.
of the
Yeah, the
Mascarene
question I was going to have is like, there seem to be a lot of complementarity between the three islands. What is your take on eventually having a kind of conservation that will actually bring them together? I mean, your dry forest is very damaged at home. In Mauritius is much better, for example. Yeah.
It was also the sense of one of my slides that if you have not the whole picture at the archipelago, you will miss important issues, and you will put your money to conserve not the wrong taxa, but some less important taxa. And so I tried to summarize most of the pattern, but one interesting pattern, if you look at diversification, that lineages that diversify on Mauritius are totally different from the one that diversified on Réunion. So because Mauritius was never a very high mountain that became a small one because of subsidence. It's a plateau from the beginning, so it's a plain with a classical tropical forest. So this is an important issue, meaning that if we do not combine to save the right lineages at the Mascarene scale, we will lose much more of our biota.
Hi, my name is Lisa Krieg from the University of Bonn. Thanks for this very interesting talk. You said that we should focus more on ecological processes and less on specific habitats or areas, and I'm wondering what that could look like in practice, especially in conservation practice. How do you protect a process or an interaction, especially when you think about legislation?
A very pragmatical example, with PhD students, we are replacing the frugivores. We are sowing directly seeds of these tall trees that are very old but will soon die, and demonstrating that you have a very rapid regeneration in open habitats. And if you look at the protected reserve or park, etc., you have the very old adults and no sapling, absolutely no sapling. So if you still protect with no activity, no ecological processes, and with no experimental work, and you can involve many people doing that, you will lose all the canopy forest of your Mascarene. So it's what we call extinction depth. It's not calculated here, but the extinction depth is very, very high. And Vincent showed that because he managed to take out some guava, invading guava, and he showed that the impact of these small shrubs were very strong on the very tall canopy trees, and stopping the flowering, stopping the fruit production, etc. So all the fauna related to this resource.
Yeah, Patrick Maving for CNRS and University of Réunion Island. You talk about interaction, and in general term, I think symbiosis has an important role to play in this kind of adaptation, invasion. And could you please talk about microbiotas that play important role in organisms, but also in all interaction in symbiosis? Do we have any? Yeah.
The slide is no more there. But my last slide was about the new emerging science in Réunion, which is important, is all the microbes, especially. This is for Patrick. This is the arbovirus. This is a tick. So the vector. We have complex interactions. And impacting human health. So this is also a big issue because it's a good way also of involving the population. If you speak about your health is concerned. You are a part of this big life network, and you are impacted by this virus and that kind of vector. So all this dimension is, so it's not only the nice birds and the nice flowering plants. There are a lot of to do about microbes, and I think that Steve on this afternoon could also explain us how his favorite bats are also a very important reservoir of this. So for conservation, there are also pragmatic application that if you do your rewilding, taking species analog from another place to here, without taking, looking at microbes, you will introduce new disease to your fauna, remaining fauna, and you will accelerate the extinction. And we know that, of course, in Hawaii, we lost some endemic birds because of this. He's not here, but the mosquito and the malaria, so the bird malaria. So there are people also, I've seen, they will give us new information about mutualism. So the soil, there is totally the black box for most of us is the soil, and soil diversity is amazing. And to understand how the life set up on this island, soil is a very important issue because it could keep some information of the past, the deep soil, and so there are nice genomics programs and innovation. And at 11 there is a session about genomics and genomics of soil organisms.
Hi, Richard Field from the University of Nottingham. Thank you for your talk. I want to focus on the international frameworks and how that affects conservation here. So I wonder if you can give us some thoughts. So we've got an island Réunion that's part of the European Union, and so presumably is subject to things like the Habitats Framework and the Habitats Directive and the Birds Directive and other kind of European conservation initiatives. But at the same time, it's in an archipelago of which only this island is in the EU. So is there anything in particular that could be done on the international stage that would really promote conservation here?
For me, the most important thing that, so of course thanks to Europe, we have an incredible list of tools and fundings for that. But the problem, Réunion is part of Europe. You are in Europe, like same status as in Paris here. But the problem, we have to work with Mauritius and Rodrigue and surrounding islands with very different political status. And this is a nightmare to organize any a small workshop. You will spend 1 year with visa problems, etc. And so for me, the priority is to share trainings, to have field schools, to welcome Vincent to my university. It's a nightmare. I have no funding for that, but the local parliament has funding for that, but you have to be very good in admin writing to get it. So it's a very slow process. I don't think it's a question of amount of money, it's having people working together. Here it's the main problem.
Yes, thank you for your talk. This is Jim Juvic, University of Hawaii. Could you make any generalizations or comments on observable trends in climate change here in La Réunion that may be impacting the ecosystem, cyclone frequency or rainfall, temperature change? We're detecting these things in the Hawaiian Islands.
So it's a very important issue, and with Claudine and colleagues from the Department of Physics and the French Météo France, so they are organizing together a session about that, and Tom, who is there also, will be a keynote scientist for this session. So the people, in fact, are looking at the same problem, but in a different way. So it's, at the moment, we did not gather the information and looking at the consequences on living stuff. So you have people measuring very important changes in the high atmosphere. You have people predicting the climate at the regional scale, even till the Mozambique channel, but based here. And you have people like us with Claudine, we are measuring how a tiny bryophyte is able to store liters and liters of water along a year. So the challenge is to put these people together, and I'm hopeful we could rise up even a project, because there are calls, many calls, European calls for this issue, but I'm not enough specialist in climatology to give you more information. So tomorrow we'll have more people speaking about that. Okay.
Suzanne Renner from the University of Munich. Since you know botany, it's a simple question. So is there an effort to make an online flora for Réunion? Because when I was looking, there was a lot of information online on the endangered and endemic plants, but not an overall flora. At least I couldn't find it.
There are several initiatives. So at the moment, with that kind of smartphone, you have an application called PlantNet. So you take your picture and it will give you the name. So it's very rich in, I would say, many exotic plants from many other islands. But the naturalists are reluctant to send pictures to this application, but it's improving. And with what is nice, thanks to Vincent Boulet, we decided all the naturalists from the island, they are working alone, typical of them. I'm the same, but we decided to break the barriers between institutes, and some weekends we are preparing a flora, a field flora, like the one you have in any country in Europe. So this project is progressing.
We don't even have a flora of Munich, much less of Bavaria.
Okay. Vincent, I think
Anyone from Rodrigues want to ask a question or make a comment? Because I see some VIPs here. No?
So I propose to stop the round of questions now, so we can slowly move to the coffee break.
Yes, okay, we do that. Maybe we quickly, I mean, because
I was supposed to keep you
there's one question
longer for technical question. If you have any technical question about your problem of accommodation, or go for it.
Logistics. Logistics question. Okay.
Quick suggestion.
Yeah, just a quick suggestion. I don't know if, because of Murphy's law, your badge will turn on the blank side, so people will not see who you are. So as we want to increase networking, just please try put your name, a suggestion. Thanks.
Ok, merci Vincent. Claudine, elle voulait venir donner des infos techniques. C'est pas grave, elle est partie faire. Bon, Vincent, ça te va ce que j'ai présenté? Pas... Oui, je pensais être trop long, j'ai enlevé 20 diapos. Mais c'est le problème, j'ai pas mes. Hi, see you again.